Dr. Jules, if you were not the Director General of OECS and doing what you're doing today, what career would you like to have tried?
Well, growing up as a kid, I always wanted to be a medical doctor, a surgeon.
Mhm.
But from infant school, that was my aspiration. Um, I used to dissect everything I could get my hands on as a primary school student. So yeah, medicine was my preferred calling. But when I sat my O levels at the time, I failed physics. And in order to go on to do sixth form science, I had to have physics. So rather than face what I felt to be the disgrace of staying back a year to do one subject, I just proceeded to do the arts. I was always a good literature student anyway.
Born and raised in St. Lucia. Dr. Jules, give us a glimpse of life growing up in St. Lucia at ages 9 and 15.
At ages 9 and 50.
15, 1 5.
Oh, 15, 9 to 15.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, it was an amazing time. I grew up in a part of Castries, the capital city called Grass Street. And Grass Street was an amazing community. It was in those days the communities were mixed. You didn't have communities as segregated by class as you tend to have now, with high income communities and low income communities. So Grass Street was like a sort of Miguel Street, and in fact, there's a book that has been written about life in Grass Street by a guy called Peter Springer,
Yeah.
who's OAS right now. And it was an amazing community because Grass Street actually produced some very important personalities in St. Lucia's social history. Derek Walcott was my next door neighbor.
Oh, really?
His backyard adjoined our backyard. Growing up as a kid, I knew his mom, his family was close to mine. We were able to observe the cultural activities of the Walcott brothers from our balcony upstairs. But there was a carnival band. They had one of the most creative carnival bands called Turks, the Turks band, and we'd observe. And in fact, my dad bought one of the first copies of Walcott's book. His mother had purchased, had actually borrowed $500, which was an astronomical sum at the time, to self-publish his first book of poems. So my dad bought it, and in fact, I have that copy today, which I brought to Derek recently for him to autograph. And then there were, a lot of. It was an amazing community because you were really a child of the neighborhood, and to compound it, Grass Street was a dead end. The road was a dead end. There was a dead end at one end, so we were able to really have a lot of socializing in the dead end part of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was quite an amazing experience growing up.
Dr. Jules, 10 years from now, if you were sitting opposite me, giving us a report what on what you have accomplished in the region, what would that report sound like?
I remember I told you my favorite quote was thus say about what is your story, right? If you ask me that question 10 years from now, I would tell you go to any street corner in the OECS and ask that question. Because it would not be for me to tell my story.
Yes.
The results, the results of the work to tell the story. And I aspire to the day when on any street corner in any of the OECS countries at random, you ask passers-by, what does OECS unity mean to you? And they can tell you it is working, they can tell you its benefits to them, their community, or their family, and they can cite ways in which it has brought benefits to them.
Dr. Jules, you're a man of many quotes and slogans, and I just want to read a couple. Time is upon us. If you know, teach. What does that remind you of?
But that was the slogan of the literacy campaign in Grenada during the revolution. But
There,
it's an abiding principle, though. I think it's something that's in fact, one of the weaknesses in terms of, we talk about transformation and public service. People tend to hog knowledge in the belief that if you share the knowledge that you have, you kind of make yourself redundant or somebody else is going to supersede you. In fact, knowledge is one of those things. The more you share it, the more it multiplies exponentially.
There's a picture. There's a picture next to you with Dr. Fidel Castro and another gentleman. What is happening there?
Oh, that is a picture of Maurice Bishop, of Fidel with Dr. Kenny Anthony at the time when Dr. Anthony came to receive the Jose Marti Award. And I was part of his delegation. I had met Fidel on other occasions from as far back as the Grenada Revolution. But there's a book that we are looking at, and that book was given, it was a book written by Fidel, I think in 1981 or 82, on the world economic crisis. And it's a book worth getting and reading because remember when it was written, it reads almost like a prophecy of what is happening today in terms of globalization and its impact. And Fidel had sent a dozen copies of that book to Maurice, and Maurice autographed one for me. And when I knew I was going to, because I was going up with Kenny for the Jose Marti Award, I knew I'd meet Fidel again. So I walked with that same copy for Fidel to autograph it as well. And he was very deeply moved, to see Bishop's autograph in the book. So I now have this. This is one of my most treasured books. It is autographed by Fidel, Maurice, and Kenny Anthony.
Dr. Jules, if you had the chance to go back in time, what would you tell that 15-year-old boy?
Go brave.
What are you most thankful for?
I'm most thankful to my parents for the values that they instilled in me and the principles, which, regardless of what my political orientation may be or how people may see it, have been guiding beacons throughout my life. I am thankful for the support of loved ones and good friends. And I've learned to have a deep appreciation of life. Coming out of the demise of the Grenada Revolution, I think one of the effects of that whole final episode of me was you kind of lose your fear of death, but you also recognize that death always walks your shoulder. There is no morning that I wake up that I'm not conscious that could be my last day. And I live my life empowered by that knowledge so that I do what I have to do.
When are you most happy?
When am I most happy? When I see results coming from, and I hear people talking positively about the results of the things that I do. That's from a professional perspective. And on a personal level, when I'm on the sea sailing any water sport.
I have to get